You are watching and listening to the Electronic Intifada live stream. I'm Nora Barrows-Friedman with Ali Abunimah. On the 8th of March this year, activist Daniel Day breached parliamentary security in London to climb 25 meters up Big Ben, the clock tower of Britain's House of Parliament, one of the most iconic landmarks in the world. It was an act of protest against Britain's involvement in Israel's genocide against Palestinians in Gaza and against the British state's repression of protest and activism, especially against the direct action group Palestine Action. Equipped with nothing more than a Palestinian flag and a live streaming mobile phone, Dan free climbed barefoot up the Westminster clock tower, unfurled his flag, and hung a Palestinian keffiyeh around the tower's stonework. He brought the roads around Parliament to a standstill for hours. Dan said at the time, "This is a protest against state repression and police violence against peaceful protesters. Our rights are being stripped away from us. Our protests are getting banned. We're getting arrested for peacefully protesting. We're getting locked away. So why not bring the protest to the so-called hub of democracy?" He refused to come down for more than 16 hours, with supporters on the ground watching him and cheering him on. He live streamed his ascent from his Instagram account, and we have an article about that action. Eventually, after his act of protest had attracted international headlines, he came down off the clock tower. He was arrested and held on remand until the 15th of April, when he was released on bail. We're delighted to welcome Daniel Day to the live stream. Dan, thanks for being with us today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm doing well, thank you.
It's really good to have you. You were arrested straight away after you came down off of Big Ben for 16 hours. What were you charged with, and how much can you tell us about that legal process?
Yeah, so currently I've been charged with public nuisance and trespass on a protected site. So yeah, I was immediately arrested. I was held in police custody while they raided my flat. I was then taken to court, and I was remanded to prison for 5 weeks. But I'm now out on bail with a list of restrictions that prevents me from entering London. I have to report to a police station twice a week between certain hours. I have a curfew, and I've got a GPS monitoring tag on my ankle. Um, and all of these restrictions are on me till my court hearing next year.
Next year is your court hearing. Incredible. And what can you tell us about the decision you made to make that climb, to make that stand and be there for 16 hours? What compelled you? Why did you do it?
Yeah, so there's a whole list of reasons, I guess, that I could go into, but um, at the time the there was the flimsy ceasefire agreement um, underway that Israel obviously kept breaking and was still massacring Palestinians, um, and it seemed like attention was sort of drifting from the Palestinian cause because of this flimsy ceasefire. Um, and and in the UK, we are constantly having more restrictions being put on us, um, preventing us from peacefully protesting. Um, so really, it was a way to protest and to highlight everything that was going on um, in Palestine and in the UK, and taking it directly to Parliament, so as to not disrupt any members of the public or anything like that. It was to take direct to Parliament and raise as much awareness as possible, and that's why I live streamed it as well on the day. Um, but it's we're just seeing week after week more repression from what I call London's worst gang, which is the Metropolitan Police. Um, we're seeing violent attacks from the police for people peacefully protesting on the streets, on the road. Uh, our protests have been banned from certain areas. We were recently banned from protesting at the BBC under a ridiculous reason that there was a synagogue nearby. But just weeks later, the police decided to raid a Quakers building because there was protesters having a discussion in there. So none of their reasoning really makes any sense. It's just that they make up the rules as they go along, and and yeah, any solidarity with Palestine is harshly repressed.
Yeah.
Why do you think they have to repress it so much? I mean, from your perspective, is, how widespread is support for Palestine and awareness of what's going on in Gaza? And what's the reaction been to your protest? I mean, do people recognize you in the street, or I mean, what? It was a pretty big story. So
Yeah. So to be honest, the Palestine movement in the UK, I've never seen such a beautiful movement. You're amongst people when you're out on marches or demos. You're amongst people from every single kind of background that you can imagine. It's absolutely beautiful. So and and we've seen some of the largest marches that London's ever seen. Um, so there is serious support for Palestine in the UK, and quite honestly, I think the government finds this a major threat because they understand that we are powerful in our numbers, and that we know that Britain has been tied to the atrocities in Palestine from from the beginning with the Balfour Declaration. Uh, so yeah, it's so important seeing how such a diverse movement it is. Um, and yeah, so since my release, it's been a bit, it's been quite overwhelming to be honest, and yeah, I have been sort of recognised in my local area as well. I've been given a number of nicknames from Big Ben to Spider Man, and yeah, it's quite.
had you? I mean, you are an experience. I'm hoping you're well. I don't know. Were you an experienced climber, or was that your first?
So it's funny because when I was in prison, a lot of people were saying like, oh, like you must be like a professional climber and all this, but um, I've been climbing since I was a child. I've climbed everything. It's just something I've always done, but I don't call myself a climber because I'm not part of any like climbing groups or anything like that. But
Now
I'm
you are. You made your own group.
but
Yeah.
that's it. Um, but yeah, so it's just something that I've always done and just comes naturally, I guess. So and this is the thing. This is what I want to stress as well. It's in this movement, we are all so individual, and we all have our own strengths. So I harnessed what I can do, and and made that something that could be impactful to try and make a difference. And every single one of us has our own quirks and things that we are capable of. Um, so that's what makes a movement so powerful, is we bring all of our different attributes together to make a really powerful movement.
Hmm. Dan, what does you said that there's a hearing next year. What does your legal case look like right now? Do you have good legal representation? Talk us through the process.
Yeah, so so I'm back in court. So it'd be Crown Court next year. Yeah, I've got great legal representation. They thankfully got me out on bail after being in prison for 5 weeks. So I'm looking at public nuisance charge and uh, trespass on a protected site. The public nuisance charge it's a strange one. It's one that they seem to be throwing around a lot for protesters. Various groups have been targeted with this charge, including the group Just Stop Oil, who have received a number of years sentences for that particular charge. So yeah, it's one that they like to use to crack down on protests in the UK.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your time inside prison for 5 weeks. What was that like? What kind of, were people aware of the action that you took? What
It
kind
was
of,
very, very strange going in.
yeah.
So initially when I got taken to a high security wing because I was classed as high profile and high risk. They also put me on escape risk, which meant they took all of my clothes away when I was in my cell. I was only allowed to be in my underwear. I wasn't allowed phone calls to anyone for 7 days. Um, so, um, but one thing that was really interesting was going in, and because in that prison, you're locked up for 23 hours a day. So, and there are TVs in the cell. So a, a lot of people had already seen the action. So when I went in there, they knew who I was. Um, so yeah, it was immediate conversation starter with all the prisoners in there. And there was so much support from all the prisoners in there. I felt I felt quite welcomed as soon as I was in there. But it was also great because it, it was, like I say, a conversation starter. So I spent many hours in the courtyard on multiple different days, just educating people about Palestine and everything that was going on. And so yeah, that was really important. And it was interesting because even some of the prison guards would come to my cell and I'd say, "Oh, well done," and sort of like give me a fist bump for my action as well. So it just felt really strange being locked up, but at the same time congratulated on my action.
Amazing.
Well, it's I mean, it's you know, reprehensible that you are subjected to that treatment at all, and that you have to even protest against a genocide that this government, your government, could act to stop instead of support as it is. But I have to say, it's probably fair of them to think that you might be able to climb your way out of there. But having said that, it is amazing that there is solidarity everywhere, and that's, I think, another demonstration of that. Dan, just before we let you go, how can people find out more or find out ways that they might want to support you? Do you have a website or
So
anything like that?
so currently I'm only active on Instagram. Yeah, I'm just I'm not trying to get involved in too much at the moment. It's all a bit overwhelming at the moment. So I'm currently on an Instagram on the same account that I went live on the day, which is Free All of Us. And there's also a fundraiser on there for Salala Animal Rescue in Gaza, who are actually looking after all the non-humans who were displaced as well. So cats and dogs are all being looked after by individuals in Gaza as well. So there's a fundraiser on there,
Mm.
and yeah, so
And
that's where I'm most active at the moment.
and is there anything regarding legal support or anything like that, or are
Well,
you well covered with that?
So yeah, I've currently there is another link on there as well that does have a a link to a fundraiser for my own legal costs and so on as well. Yeah.
Amazing. So people can get all of those links at your Instagram, which
On,
is at Free All of Us. Is that right?
that's right.
Okay.
At
Yeah.
Free
Yeah.
All of Us. Okay.
Incredible. Well, Dan, we definitely want to have an update, you know, and have you back on to talk more about activism and repression that activists are facing and how you're challenging it and continuing to organize despite and in spite of the repression. And thank you for what you did and for being with us on the Electronic Intifada live stream today.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been amazing. I've paid close attention to this live stream for a long time, so it's amazing to be on here. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's our
Thank you,
honor.
Dan, and we
Thanks,
hope to
Dan.
see you again soon. Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot. Take care.